Hey everyone, it's been a while since I shared an update on TransformersPHP, my open source project for running machine learning models in PHP. Now, I know it might seem like I've gone quiet for some time, but believe me, it's not because I've forgotten about the project. That's far from it. The reality is I've just been busy with my day job, which pays the bills, and balancing that with open source work can be tricky sometimes. But the good news is that work on Transformers PHP has still been happening behind the scenes. I've just been unable to, send out regular updates like I used to. So today I wanted to give you a glimpse of what's been going on, especially around one area that has been a major focus for me recently, tests. So for the past few months, I've been working on improving the stability and predictability of the system by finally getting serious about writing tests. So I'll be honest, writing tests for Transformers PHP, it's something I've been putting off for a very long time. I think I mentioned some of the reasons in a GitHub issue. Someone questioned me about it. I'll link it in the description below. So, but it's majorly because of how complex the project is, especially when it comes to testing things like tokenizers and models, right? So there are a variety of tokenizers with different configs and a lot of things to test for. So it's been a challenge finding, a solid structure. But currently, I think I've landed on a pretty solid structure for approaching this, and I've started making real progress when it comes to tests. One thing about writing tests is that it forces you to confront issues that might be lurking, under the radar. So you are writing a test and suddenly you discover, oh wow, there is this bug that no one has run into before, even though the project has been running for a very long time. So it's been a mix of writing test cases, uncovering hidden issues, and then fixing them as I go. So in this video, I want to walk you through some of the challenges I faced while writing these tests, what's been done so far, and how these tests are shaping up. So we'll cover tests for tensors, tensor buffers, and tokenizers most importantly. Let's dive right in. First up, we have tensors. So tensors are a core part of what Transformers PHP does. So it makes sense to test them rigorously. In the past, I had some basic tests for tensors, but recently I've expanded those tests significantly. So now we're testing for tensor creation, different methods of creating a tensor, mathematical operations like sum, multiplication, metric multiplication, and then statistical operations like sigmoid, softmax, and the rest. That said, I won't spend too much time here because tensors are not the main focus of this video. So let's just run the tensor tests quickly to show you how everything is working, and then we'll move on. Next, we have tensor buffers. So for those unfamiliar, tensor buffers in the context of Transformers PHP acts as a glue between the PHP implementation of tensors and the C-based library that's actually handling, the heavy lifting of the package. So Transformers PHP uses Rindo Mathmatrix as the library for mathematical operations. So this library provides FFI bindings needed to connect PHP to a C-based backend. By default, Rindo Mathmatrix has two types of buffer: a C-based buffer, which is highly performant, and a PHP buffer, which is slower, but it's more compatible in a lot of conditions. So you might be thinking, if they have a C-based buffer, why do I need a separate one for Transformers PHP? Well, Rindo uses its own logic to decide when to use each buffer, which I don't control. So the problem arises when you install Transformers PHP and either using the Composer plugin or when you run the install command, it downloads everything needed for the library, including the shared C libraries. However, Rindo doesn't always detect these shared libraries properly. So to solve this, I wrote a custom C-based buffer that uses the C libraries installed with Transformers PHP. This gives us full control over how the buffer is used, ensuring we have consistent performance and that C buffer is always going to be used. So I've written tests to ensure this buffer works as expected and then integrates seamlessly with the rest of the system. Let's run it real quick and then see the results. Beautiful. Now let's talk about tokenizers, the real highlight of this video. Testing tokenizers has been a real unique challenge for me. I honestly drew a lot of inspiration from Transformers.js and the original Python-based Transformers library to figure out the best approach. So here's what I did. If you check out the generated folder, you notice we have a mini Python project in there. It includes a virtual environment and some scripts to generate test data. So using that Python project, I ran a couple of models with a variety of inputs. These inputs have been curated to test out a lot of real-world use cases, things like lowercase, uppercase, a mixture of both, symbols, punctuations, control characters, and even multi-byte strings like Chinese characters. Believe me, those ones stressed me a lot to get the test to pass for them. And I'll talk about them in a minute. Then I saved the inputs and their expected outputs in a JSON file. One of the most interesting challenges was handling multi-byte strings, as I mentioned earlier, like Chinese characters or emojis. In PHP, functions like string length, substring, they work fine for simple strings, but then they can break down when dealing with multi-byte characters. So I had to switch all the string handling logic to use the multi-byte versions like MB string length, MB substring, MB or there are a lot of them out there, and so on. So this testing process helped me uncover this and so many other issues. They were, little quirky ones that I can't begin to mention in this video. And they made the library more robust, especially the tokenizer part of the library, and made it equipped to handle a wide range of inputs. Another area I focused was on chat-based templates, where the inputs take a particular format. So the regular inputs we tested earlier were just, just basic strings. But in chat templates, you have inputs in form of an array with keys like user or assistant, or in some cases system, alongside the messages. So not all models can process this. So I wrote test cases specifically for this model, and then inputs specifically for these models and the workflow. So there was a lot of test data generated from the original JSON file. It's over 280k lines. So I had to streamline it and just sample the unique data sets from them to use. Then I loaded them in best.php to use in my test file. In the test file, I run the tests for regular tokenization, and then a chat-based tokenization, and a few other custom edge cases. For every data point, we test the encoding process to verify that the tokenizer produces the correct tokens, and then test the decoding process also to ensure that the tokens can be converted back to the original input. So let's just go ahead and run these tests so you can see them in action. So that's a lot of tests. Some tests are super fast, some take averagely 1 second to run, especially those that have to do with BPE model. I'll probably have to optimize that in the future so that they are super fast and don't waste time, right? So altogether, we have almost 800 tests just for tokenizers. So that's it for this update. TransformersPHP is growing stronger with every test I write and each day, and I'm excited about the progress so far. There are so many other updates. I'll probably share them in the upcoming weeks or upcoming days, and I'm excited about what's happening in the project. So if you'd like to support the project, there is no GitHub sponsorship set up yet for the project, right? So you can help by using the package in your projects, by sharing it on social media, or opening issues, or contributing code if you have enough experience to do that. So thank you so much for watching, and as always, keep building with TransformersPHP. Your support means a world to me. So see you in the next update. Bye.